not having leads sucks, especially when you know you're a solid agent and would totally crush it if you only had the chance to prove it. But the problem is you've got no leads and no prospects, and you're getting more stressed and more poor by the second. Does that sound familiar? Well, today's guest is Blake Clark out of Phoenix, Arizona, and he went from broke as a joke in your same position potentially to selling $6 million in real estate just last month. Not to mention 31 million so far this year, and it's June. How? How did he do this? By being absolutely obsessed with building a personal brand and embracing marketing. Expect to learn his secret to go from living in a trailer park to living in a mega $1 million mansion, what a sales funnel is, the difference between lead generation and building a brand, examples of both of those that you can implement today, and stick around to the end for a plot twist on how to think about your target audience on Instagram. This one took me for a ride personally. Guys, you are listening to the Real Estate Rockstars podcast, the show for agents who've been around the block and are finally ready to build a sustainable, scalable business that you don't secretly hate or want to escape from. My name is Shelby Johnson. I'm a former Army veteran turned real estate entrepreneur, and I've closed hundreds of transactions as a solo agent, team leader, and real estate investor before taking the honorable role of hosting this podcast. In case you haven't heard, we, the Real Estate Rockstars crew, do an annual mastermind every March in Austin, Texas, and it is truly the best time of the year. We are capping ticket sales at 100 agents. Guys, it's personal, it's close-knit, it's everything you ever want. And so if you know you want a slot, don't miss out. You can register using the link in the show notes or hit me up on the gram at The Shelby Show, and I will slide you more information. And now, get ready to learn all about marketing and building a personal brand. Rockstars, welcome Blake Clark. All right, dude, you went from growing up in a single wide trailer and going broke a few times in your 20s to today, you have already closed 31 million in sales this year. Yeah. It's halfway through the year. And your brokerage has done 120 million, not to mention like all the stuff you guys are doing with your online presence and your real estate investments, and you have kids and all of these things. So like, what is the secret to that type of transformation?
I would say the secret is just I think everybody looks at me for like some like, what's this like one thing you're doing that's like all of a sudden like I'm hiding behind the curtain. But to be honest with you, it comes down to we market our asses off. You know, every day it's kind of like a non-negotiable. When agents come to me at my brokerage and you know they're like, hey, we want to build a legitimate business. It's like, okay, you better learn how to market. And it's consistency. It's every single day doing the same boring shit that most people lose interest in. And I really think that that's what it comes down to when you look at winning, right? It's not the person that has the quote unquote highest skill. It's the person that can endure the most boring shit the longest period of time. That's what it comes down to. So I became really good at mastering the monotonous mundane at a high level every day. So.
Okay. So we know there's agents out there who are listening and they're like I don't want to be in marketing and in sales. Like, I just want to sell real estate. Like, I don't want to have to market myself or build a personal brand. Like, what would you say to those agents?
Get out of real estate. Like, that's all there is to it. Like, here's the thing. You have to look at yourself as if you're a business, right? Because you are a business. You provide a service to people and you provide value to people. Why would you not want people to know that you exist? Why would you not want to establish a brand around yourself to be known as one of the best? You know, the way this really clicked for me was one of my very first brokers, been in the business since 1999, extremely knowledgeable guy. I mean, he's done thousands of transactions by the time I had entered into real estate in 2015. And this guy really did no marketing or branding. He was word of mouth. He kind of got into the business prior to social media being a thing, you know, so he kind of built his brand the old school way, roll your sleeves up and get to work, which I love. But the power of me having the ability to market and reach thousands of people online every day with my message and kind of showcasing my work and a lot of the behind the scenes, within year number 3, I was able to surpass his production that it had taken him close to, 15, 16 years to build. I did in 3 years with my ability to reach more people and leverage through marketing. So,
okay.
I know, we all probably know amazing agents that have been in this business for a really long time, extremely knowledgeable, tons and tons of experience behind them, but nobody really knows who they are. Nobody knows they exist. And you don't really see them doing the, the high volume transactions because they simply can't get themselves in front of enough people to achieve that. Where the person that is a better marketer can be seen by more people, they win. So, I mean, if you don't want to do that, you're probably in the wrong business. You can't be a secret agent,
Yeah, so. I was 2019. I was going into my second year as being an agent, and I was at Grant Cardone's GrowthCon in Miami, and I was sitting there like taking all of my notes, and he said something about best known beats best. And Grant Cardone is like polarizing, regardless of your opinions on him as a person, like that quote where it's like best known beats best every time really freaking stuck with me. And I think it's 100% true.
Yeah, it's a fact. Yeah. You look at anybody that's doing anything at a high level, they have some kind of brand or marketing or, whatever it is, whether that's PPC, pay-per-click traffic, Facebook ads, things like that, social media, a large font, whatever it is, it's some form or fashion. Anybody that's doing high volume, high business, they're not doing it just by strictly word of mouth or referral. They've got a brand, they've built something, they've got marketing behind them that is feeding the lead machine for them.
Okay. And you surpassed that dude, in 3 years, you surpassed his production. So what did you do for your marketing and how to build your brand?
Yeah, so I built mine. I have an e-commerce background. Well, I take that back. I have a construction background. So all of this is extremely amazing to me, right? I come from digging ditches at $10 an hour. So the fact that you can get online and market and be in air conditioning all day, and it's so freaking cool, and especially coming, where I come from, like you mentioned, I grew up in a trailer and we actually ended up in Arizona. I was homeless at the time. I'm from Las Vegas originally. So like being able to be around really cool houses, help people get into homes, buy rental properties, all of that is just completely my jam. So one of the things that I did though, kind of prior to getting into real estate, was I ran some e-commerce businesses and companies. That was kind of one of my, if you want to call it like a side hustle, we'll call it that. But it was basically marketing on eBay, marketing on Amazon, taking certain pictures, certain keywords, running paid traffic to my e-commerce stores and things like that. So when I got into real estate, I was like, well, I can kind of do the same thing, right? Hit keywords in certain marketing, take certain videos, make those really cool edits and reels that would kind of catch people's attraction and make them want to, at least watch it, share it, things like that. Roll into PPC, pay-per-click advertising through Facebook and Google, just the same way I would drive traffic to my stores. I'd drive them to my listings. So I basically just took one product and replaced that with real estate and my background knowledge in that. In e-commerce, I learned a lot of lessons doing that. We got up to one point, we were spending almost $250,000 a month in advertising. This was 2019, 2020. We were spending $250,000 a month on pay-per-click. So we got really good at just kind of figuring out how to generate leads, what people would do to click on a lead, watch through times, conversion rates, all that kind of stuff, top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel sales. And so I took all of that information and I just basically started rolling that into my real estate career. And this was 2015. So even at that time, real estate marketing on Facebook was kind of mediocre. It was that transitional period. Luckily, I was on the front end of that, and I got some big scaling, really quick at that point, especially utilizing like Facebook groups and things like that for marketing houses.
So are you still doing paid and organic?
Same shit. Same thing I've been doing from day one. No fancy bells and whistles, no fancy nothing. Like it blows everybody's minds. They come to me again, always looking for these big secrets. And I'm like, I do the same thing today that I did from 2015, day one, foot on the ground. As soon as I got out of real estate school, I do the same thing, just at a higher level. I spend a little more on ads now because I've got, 70 agents over here. We're generating 700-800 leads a month locally, plus the organic traffic that we get from our social media following and Facebook groups and things like that. Same thing though. Literally, if it's not broke, why mess with it, right? Like it's just the system friggin' works. It's not rocket science. So
totally. Okay, can we break it down? So if someone listening is out there and they're like, I want to do what Blake is doing. Because you mentioned a couple things, but specifically you were talking about how to generate leads, like I think through, Facebook ads, and then like how to make people click, top, middle, bottom of the funnel. Like, can we go through that specifically?
What I think people should really get good at is how can I generate leads for free? So you create a sales funnel. So everything in sales, doesn't matter if you're in real estate, doesn't matter if you're selling cars, it doesn't matter. You have to look at things like a funnel, which means what you put in the top is going to come out the bottom. Now, everything you put in the top will not come out the bottom, but once you start to figure out what your ratios are and you track them, right? So This could be as simple as, hey, I'm a brand new agent and I'm going to go do open houses. And I know that if I do 3 open houses per week, on average, I'm going to have 3 people per day walk in the door. So let's just call that 9 contacts per week. Out of those 9 contacts, so we're imagining we're putting those in the top of the funnel. Those are 9 people you spoke to. We're going to say out of those 9, one of them turned out to be pretty good. They didn't have an agent representing them. They expressed some interest in potentially wanting to sell, maybe buy, whatever that may be. Okay, I'm going to move those guys a little further. I'm going to spend a little more time with these people, right? So now you move them down to the middle of the funnel. And then, it might take you 4 or 5 more of those kind of people to put in the middle of the funnel before one spits out the bottom. They get pre-qualified or they call you and you get a signed listing agreement, right? So you do the numbers on it. Let's just say it takes you 27 people on the top of an open house, 27 contacts. Out of that, you need to put 4 to 5 of those 27 in the middle that express some interest. And out of those 4 to 5, one of them is for sure going to, on average, spit out and become an actual transaction for you. So once you know these numbers, you say, okay, I know for about every 27 people I have a conversation with, that's going to equate to 1 deal, right? You have to track your numbers here. Then it's just a matter of scale. All right, great. What happens if I do 4 open houses a week? What happens if I do 5 open houses a week? Now, take open houses off the table, and it goes the same with whether you're doing link sharing, for example, right? You got a nice website, you got a nice squeeze page, you take a nice listing within your brokerage and you can share that in a Facebook group and you share it, right? And you say, okay, I know every time I share this link right here to this property and it's a squeeze page, which means we've all seen it. You basically get it says click here and you go to click to view and it says, you got to enter your name and information to view the rest of it. That's called a squeeze page. You're basically squeezing the information out of a potential client. So hey, if I share the link to this house in 20 Facebook groups today, on average, that's probably going to get me about 7 or 8 registrations. So if I do this every day, I can generate 7 or 8 leads for free. Out of those 7 or 8 leads, it's an internet lead. So typically they're not, they don't convert as high. And so you might say, hey, I got to get, at a 1% conversion rate. I need to generate about 100 leads to get one really good sale out of that. Again, now that you know your numbers, right? Because, and by the way, as time goes on, these numbers are going to change. At first, when you have a low skill, you can offset that by putting more leads in the top of your funnel, right? You can be the worst converter, but if you give yourself enough at-bats, AKA enough leads coming in, you will eventually get a transaction. And then as time goes on, your skill level increases, you'll convert a little higher. You'll find that you don't need as many leads to go on the top of your funnel to spit out on the bottom side. But the beautiful thing about understanding what a sales funnel is that as long as you track your personal numbers and you know what your average conversion rates are in each form, it's actually really easy to simplify your business. I mean, you can literally create a cruise control business model, right? If you say, listen, I need to get 3 transactions per month. If I'm doing internet leads, I need to generate about 300 to 400 leads per month to get that. You can do that for free. Literally go to Facebook groups, share the heck out of this, go on Instagram, right? Like there's a lot of effort you can do, or you can step into Google paid per click and Facebook ads and start running traffic to your ad. But I always tell people, don't spend any money until you master your numbers, right? Spending money is just like putting your systems on steroids at that point. But you kind of have to have an expectation and you have to know, for example, if you're doing the internet lead like what I do, you should be hitting Facebook groups for free. You should be using your own social media. You should be using Instagram. You should be sending traffic to your squeeze page until you can dial in your messaging, until you can find out what kind of property people really like to see and click the most on. Once you have that dialed in and you're like, all right, great, I'm sharing this thing in Facebook groups like crazy, generating 100 leads, and out of every 100, I'm getting 1 transaction. How the heck can I get 500 leads a month? Well, we know realistically that's going to take a lot of bandwidth to hit Facebook groups to get enough 500 leads a month on that. But then that's where you say, okay, I know my numbers. I'm going to go ahead and start spending some money now that I've got my funnel dialed in. I've got my systems dialed in, because I know people that spend money on leads, generate them, and they've got no systems or processes in place. So they just waste money. They get the leads and they've got no follow-up. They've got no email sequencing. They've got no CRM to do anything with these leads. And then they think the system's broke. It's not broke. You just don't have your systems dialed in before you started spending money on all that stuff.
So much. Okay. In regard to systems though, with the, so you have this piece. No, dude, it's so good. And I'm taking notes. We're going to circle back to a lot of that. Okay. So for this systems, that is a big thing for people that don't have the system's locked in. So maybe they go in and they post on Facebook and people reply. There's not a squeeze page. And so now they're like in the messages trying to reply to people. Some people are on their phones, some are in their DMs. They're just kind of like a hot mess with all of it. So for your process, you have, you put out the content with some sort of like a lead magnet, essentially, to push them towards the squeeze page, the landing page, where you're going to get their contact information. And then from there, is your landing page, is that connected to your CRM? Like, is it all in one system? And then in the back end, when they pop into your CRM, are you notified? Is there automations behind that? Like, what does more of that system look like?
Yeah. So when you're brand new, don't let this slow you down. Okay. Like when I first started out, just to make you guys feel better, my CRM was an Excel spreadsheet and it sucked. But I was poor. I didn't really we're all bootstrapping here,
by the
right?
way.
Not a lot of people get into real estate and have thousands of dollars to spend on leads. So what I'm telling you, don't pay as much attention to I have to have this CRM. Pay attention to the fundamentals behind it and the thought process, because at that point, once you start making a little bit of money and once you scale up, you can reinvest into better systems. This is where people mess up in real estate. I have to have the best everything. Listen, if you can make shit work with the least of anything, you're going to be okay in this business. I promise you. This is the crutch that a lot of people tend to lean on, is like, well, I don't have this CRM. Oh, I don't have this. Well, I don't have, it's like all the, I didn't have shit. I had a broker who I said, hey, can you teach me how to market? And he's like, yeah. And mind you, he doesn't market. This guy on his Facebook didn't know marketing. His idea of marketing, he told me, by the way, I was like, do you have any, and this is before things clicked for me to say, why don't I just do what I'm doing with e-commerce into online marketing, right? Why don't I apply that to my real estate business? Before that, my first 6 months, I said, all right, what do I do for marketing? And he's like, go buy door hangers and go hang up door hangers and go door knock. I'm like, okay.
Dude.
And that shit terrified me. I'm not really like a door knocker, I'm like, door knock, man. I went on Vistaprint. I made 10,000 door hangers. And then I put my foot on the ground. I was like, all right, I'm going to start hanging these up in my neighborhood. And I got to like 50 houses. I'm out there with my kids. It's hot as hell. And I'm like, I'm done. This sucks. This is the hardest I've had to work to hang door hangers. And so I went and hired a company to do it at that time. And then they hang all these door hangers. And I got 2 inbound calls off of 10,000 door hangers. And one of those inbound calls was a lady that was pissed off because the guy that hung the door hanger up stopped for a cigarette break and was sitting on a rock in her front yard. And she's like, your guy's sitting in my front yard smoking a cigarette that just left a hanger. And I'm like, oh man. So I can't, I didn't have any background in marketing. I shouldn't say I had a background in marketing. I just talk about in real estate. I started off in a flat fee brokerage. Hindsight, looking back, I wish I never would have done that. There was a lot of good things that came from that. I had to figure things out on my own and get very creative and just kind of carve my own way. But looking back at that, if I had somebody like me that, hey, Blake, can I come work for you? Yep. Here's your CRM. Here's your open house signs. Here's your lead gen system. Here's a proven business model that works. Show up and just do the thing and you'll be successful. And I've proven in time, man, I probably would have shaved 2 to 3 years off of that learning curve for myself, having to figure it out. But I was trying to be cheap at the time. It's like, oh, I want to save money and just go flat fee. Looking back, I'm like, man, I lost hundreds of thousands of dollars my first few years over what? Because I didn't want to pay a $16K cap or something like that. Like, stupid, right? Things you don't know, things people don't tell you. But case in point, I figured it out. If you as an individual can't figure it out with like no resources, I think in some ways you probably need to look at that as an advantage, right? But to fast forward, I went through a handful of CRMs, really what I could afford at the time. I didn't overextend myself, but I took some money and I set it aside and I finally landed on a CRM. We personally use a CRM called Sync, C-I-N-C. It's called Commissions Inc. There's a lot of other ones, Follow Up Boss. They all kind of do the same thing. But yes, it's a website CRM with squeeze page on the front. So this CRM has listings in the brokerage. It's got the full listing profile. It's got its own domain name. So my agents can take that domain name and share it in Facebook groups. And it will track if somebody registers through that name and it'll go into my agent's name. So we can, all 65, 70 of my agents can go through and pull these listings, share them on their social media. Somebody clicks on it and it'll register into their personal CRM on the back end of our company CRM pretty much. And they generate leads for free. And I mean, I tell you what, it takes 15 minutes a day to do it right. And you can easily bring in 5-10 leads a day without spending any money. And then what we did too is we just upped our CRM, because with online leads, you get a lot of fake names, fake numbers and whatever. So we actually implemented a 2-step authentication on the back of our CRM now. So what happens is a lead will register, ask for their contact information. The contact information comes through, and then it says, we're going to send you a text message with a code now that you have to enter. So we can make sure they gave us the right phone number and then they have to enter that code, and then we let them view the properties. And we're seeing really good success with that as well now too.
So. And that's all through Sync, the 2-step.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
We use a couple other CRM. Yeah. We use a few other tools depending, like we've got a couple seller nurturing tools and things like that we use as well. So we use probably like 3 or 4 systems overall, depending on what we're trying to accomplish and what kind of lead it is. But for a basic lead gen, Follow Up Boss, Lion's Desk, Sync, all those work basically. I mean, they're all got their pros and cons in my opinion. So,
okay. One more question on this before I go back in a slightly different direction. You mentioned the other nurturing tools. Just real quick. I'm like a tool junkie. What are the other ones that you're using that are your favorites?
HomeBot's a really good one that we use for seller nurturing leads, is a big one. And then we use, Keeping Current Matters just as a good one for some charts. I use Cromford Report. So I have an email list set up, and then I go through all of my homeowners and buyers that are subscribed to my email list, and then also in our CRM, and I put out a weekly market update. So the thing with real estate, everybody's emotional. Everybody posts their opinions and all that stuff on there. The market, you go talk to 100 agents and 100 of them have a different opinion on what's going on in the market. And I always laugh at that because I'm like, there's such inconsistency in messaging in one industry. It kind of blows my mind. And I think it really comes down to education and not understanding economics. And, if this lever gets pulled, this happens in the economy and things like that. So I've spent a lot of time studying that. But what we do is the numbers don't lie. Every week, I'm very transparent. Here's the numbers. Here's the stats. Here's the inventory level. Here's the interest rates. I share all of that with all of my clients. And we've got like a 71% opt-in rate, open rate, like every week reading it. So it just goes to show that the general consumer craves actual data, not just a bunch of talking heads on social media spouting out what they think. It's like people want to know legitimately what's going on with the data to back that up to make an educated decision.
What are your funnels? Because stalking you online, it seems like you are doing a little bit of everything. So could you go through and be like, because you've already mentioned newsletter. I know you do YouTube, you're on Instagram, you had a podcast. Like, can you just real quick give us like an overview of all of the different marketing and brand building things you have out there? And then maybe we can go deeper on 1 or 2 of them.
Yeah, I don't overcomplicate this. I'll be honest. We do pay-per-click traffic. PPC leads is a big one that we do. And then I got to be fully transparent with you. I don't even call any of those leads anymore. My business, my personal business is solely built on social media and referrals now. That's it. So I use social media. And this is the problem too, because a lot of agents come out and they're like, I want to use social media. And then they only do that, not understanding that that's a numbers game as well. You have to have X amount of legitimate followers. And that's a whole nother probably topic we can go down at some time, because it's a whole science behind that. Like, because I had a lot of followers for a while and I wouldn't get nearly the amount of conversions that I would. And there really is like a hack, right? You have to be very comfortable with who you are. You have to be comfortable putting out what you want to put out. You have to have thick skin, because sometimes your messaging and who you are as an individual is not going to align with everybody online, And so the problem is I see a lot of people that come and they want to mimic some of what I'm doing. And they're like, okay, great. He gets business on social media. I'll get business. My social media didn't really start feeding me until almost 6 years in, where over time I grew enough followers and I nurtured my following long enough to where the trust was established that I have a good presence in my market space and I'm good at what I do, before it actually converted to like 2 or 3 transactions per month, right? In the meantime, I was doing a crap ton of open houses, lead gen, link sharing. And then eventually, once I got to a place, again, listen to that, 5 or 6 years into my business, where my social media began to finally start to plant, right? The seeds I was planting started to, basically show the fruits of my labor with all the posting and stuff. I was able to say, okay, what do I hate doing the most of? Cold calling. All right, so I'm going to let go of doing my cold calling now. Now I'm just going to do open houses and social media. And then at that point, then it turned into, by year 5 or 6, I had so many kind of past client referrals, things like that, and social media. All right, great. What do I want to get rid of next? Open houses. You know what I mean? So I didn't let go of one lead source until the other one that I enjoyed doing more and was more passionate about began to pick up. this is where a lot of people mess up because they just get into real estate and say, well, I just want to get business on social media. And then that's all they do with 500 followers. And they're like, well, I'm not getting business. No shit. You haven't earned it, dude. You're like, you only posted for 6 months. You just got your real estate license. You think you're supposed to have a flock of people following you? Like, we're real estate. We're boring as shit. Nothing's fun about what we do. It's not a sexy business, you know? And so it takes time. And so I try to explain that to people is like, you're going to have to go through the trenches. You're going to have to make those calls. You're going to have to do those open houses. You're going to have to generate those leads while on the side building up your social media. And if anything, just look at it as a diary. I'm just going to document my journey. I'm going to do my thing. And then one day, all of my seeds will plant and it'll finally turn into business for me. But again, guys, that took me 5 or 6 years of posting every damn day before people really started reaching out consistently on a monthly basis where I felt comfortable enough to say, okay, I can let go of this lead gen that I hate doing over here and focus more on this now. So,
yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And it took me years to realize that there was a difference, like within the realm of marketing, there is like lead generation and then there is brand building. So like the lead generation, as you're getting in, it's where you're going to get the reps. Like you mentioned, going to the open houses, having as many conversations as possible, cold calling. So that way you are forced into those repetitions that will help you learn and grow, while at the same time, sharing the journey, just like you said, on social media or whatever your platforms of choice are. So that way there will be a switch over time. Because in the beginning, all the leads most likely will come from that action that you're taking to generate. But then as you share and your brand grows, then over time, just like you, people will start coming to you instead of you searching for them.
Yeah. Here's the thing. You got to model success online. You know, like a lot of people think that just because they get online and they make a posting that they deserve business. And it's like, you have to earn business and you have to show success and you have to put your resume out there every day, you know, and that's always the thing is like, I put my numbers out. I put my stats out every day. Here's the house I sell. Every Monday, you'll see the previous week's numbers. I'm not that brokerage that just totes like, yeah, we do this or whatever. No, like, here's my stats. Here's my numbers. Like I don't BS people. For 2 reasons. Number one, I play a different game these days. Obviously, I'm a brokerage owner now. So I want to attract quality talent. I want to attract agents that are looking to grow their business, right? Come into my ecosystem. Let's have a lot of fun and let's make some money and let's do some sales and let's help a lot of people out, right? So I put the numbers out to show that because I think that a lot of brokerages are, you know, there's a lot of vanity numbers out there in my opinion. And that's one of the things that does kind of drive me a little crazy about this industry, because you'll get like you'll get a brokerage that's got 500 people and they'll be like, oh yeah, we did $1 billion in sales. It's like, yeah, but my 50 did $500 million. Whose agent to deal ratio is higher? That translates to me. So that's the metric I pay attention to is my agent to deal ratio on my average agent commission every year. So we focus very heavily on quality agents that are full-time producers, because I don't want 500 with only 60 of them pulling the weight. You know what I mean? We constantly tell you like, you're full-time if you come here, but we're going to invest in you. We're going to pour into you. And so that's one of the key things that's really focused with us is I'm attracting that kind of agent. But on the opposite side, I want the general consumer to look at me and be like, this dude's just getting it done. This is who we need right here. This guy every week, he knows how to close a deal. And I try to share, like, we've gotten into some of my video marketing where I kind of do like deal breakdowns. All right, this is how I put the deal together. This is what we ran into. This is how it went good, went bad, was a little choppy. Doesn't matter. I want the consumer to get a real behind the scenes look of like what it looks like to push some of these transactions through. So I don't make it all look like rainbows on there. I'm obviously the difference. I think this business is really hard. And that's one of the things I try to put on the social media too for other agents. I'm like, it's okay to feel like you're getting your face punched in every day. You're supposed to. That's called entrepreneurship, right? If it was easy, everybody would make it. Everybody would win. There's only enough seats at the top. And so I try to be that reminder to people, like, it's okay to feel like some days, you know, you're going backwards running, but the wind's pushing you. That's all right. Like, keep going. And one day you're going to get it, you know? So I don't sugarcoat it, but it's possible. Anybody can do it.
Yeah. I had that moment today, actually. I was like, what the fuck am I doing? But it's okay. The roller, yeah, the real estate roller coaster is so real. Okay, question about your social media though. So have you ever had like a personal internal struggle with your target audience? Because right now you just mentioned speaking to the clientele out there, but also speaking to agents. Have you ever struggled with that?
Absolutely. So I, for the longest time, just like every business owner, I was hungry for business. I was like, I don't want to post anything that's going to offend anyone, right? So there's a big mental barrier that comes into place. And this only gets worse the more followers you have, because you get to a place where you're like, God, I got to make this post that like appeases 5,000 people, 6,000 people, 7,000 people. And before you know it, the more that you think that way, right? We've got 10,000 people. You go to make a post and then like that one person, you're like, oh, I don't want to offend them. I'm not going to post this. You know what I mean? And I was literally handcuffed by that my first 2 or 3 years, because I was just like, yeah, I don't want to offend anybody, whatever. And the breaking point for me was, to be honest with you, one of my really good friends and a client of mine. So I was frustrated because I'd been about 4 or 5 years in the business, sold a lot. I probably by that point had sold 500 houses, four to 500, right in that range. And I'd never sold a property over $1 million. At that time, I was already living in like a $1.5 million house. I had just bought my first Lamborghini. And I didn't show anybody. Nobody knew I had any of that. I was driving around in a 2008 Infiniti G35 with 180,000 miles, and I had like a wrap on it and stuff. Not that these things necessarily matter, but the point being was that the demographic that I was really trying, like that I desired to work with inside, because everybody goes through stages, right? You have to be realistic about this, that if you're not relatable to your clients, it's going to be hard to sell to those kind of clients, you know? So when I started out in real estate, I wasn't really making that much money. I was like everybody else, starting back at square one, you know, just trying to scrape things together. And I was selling a lot of houses to first-time homeowners and things like that, or that homeowner that owned the first house, the family that owned the first house and was transitioning into their second house. About year number 2 or 3, I got my first 40 under 40 award. And I'm like, man, I look around and I see all these agents that I kind of known, and they're selling like $1 million properties. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Like, I'm selling way more volume than these guys, but I'm not selling $1 million. Like, what's going on here? You know, and it's kind of bothering me. Not necessarily the price of it, but it was more of like, that's my ideal clientele, because I was a business owner at that point. I'd started my team. I was doing really good. I'd proven myself, you know, and as far as like being consistent, I'd ran other businesses. So one day my neighbor calls me up and he's like, hey, I'm going to have you list my brother's property. I'm going to introduce you guys. And he lived right across the street. I lived in a really nice neighborhood and stuff. And so my neighbor brings his brother over, and his brother's got this beautiful, this is 2019, like 8,700 square foot house, just on 2 acres, just baller house. So it was going to be like $2 million. And he comes up and he meets me, and he's like, he'd seen me on social media here and there. I didn't really talk to him. And he's like, can I be honest with you? He goes, I'm going to hire you. You're obviously good at what you do. He's like, can I be honest with you? And I was like, yeah. He's like, you don't look successful. And like, just like that. And I was like, didn't really know what to say. I'm like, what? Because I run a successful team, and I was, this is like year 4 into my business. I'm in the top 1% of sales in Arizona. He's like, well, I follow you online, and like, you don't look successful. He's like, I see your house. You got a fucking Lamborghini in your garage and other nice cars, and you don't show any of that. And I'm like, well, yeah, I don't want to be that guy that looks like I'm bragging all the time. Because I never grew up with any of that stuff, and I never really wanted people to perceive me that that's all I care about. I just kind of was able to work myself up, in life. And he's like, yeah, but guys like me, he goes, I'm a business owner. I like to work with other successful people. He goes, I don't go look for the guy that doesn't look successful. He goes, successful people and successful business owners want to work with other successful business owners. And I was like, yeah, but I don't want to like show my Lambo and people like, he's like, think about it this way. You're going in for heart surgery at the doctor, and your doctor pulls up in like a 93 Honda Accord. He's like, are you going to feel like you hired the best doctor? And I was like, he goes, and then this other doctor pulls up next to him in like a Rolls. He's like, he goes, without speaking a word to either one of those doctors, what would the perception be on who's the better doctor? And I was like, obviously the guy that drives the Rolls. He goes, it's perception. Everything in marketing. He goes, and he wasn't making a point that you have to fake it, right? But he was making a point that it's okay to show success. He's like, same thing with your accountant, man. He goes, do you want your accountant driving around in a 2000 Toyota Tacoma? And I was like, probably not. He's like, you want people you hire? He's like, do you not try to hire people that are successful in their business and like show success? I'm like, yeah, I do. Actually, he's like, great. It's the same thing for me. I don't want my agent pulling up to my $2 million house in this car when I know he's successful. He's like, I'm just going to give you, and this guy owns like a lot of businesses, like windshield glass company, solar company. This guy's a multi-millionaire. And that conversation changed me, because I went home, and I'm not going to lie, I was pissed off. I told my wife, I'm like, fucking guy, like said I'm not successful, and she was so mad, I sat down that night and I thought about it, and I was like, how am I showing up to the world online right now? Like, am I really showing what I believe in? And I was like, what do I believe in? Right. Well, I believe in success. I believe in going through life and moving yourself. I believe that everybody deserves a shot to be their best and live out their best life, right? Like for some people, that means traveling. Hey, I want to make all the money I can to travel. For some people, that means I want to make all the money I can and just donate it to a church and feel good. Some people, hey, I want to be able to buy that dream car I've always wanted as a kid, which was me. And, or that dream house and stuff like that, provide better opportunities for my kids. So I was like, am I putting that message out on social media or am I hiding it? And I was hiding it. It was a fact. And so I said, from that day forward, I'm going to switch my messaging up. I'm going to tell people it's okay to want nice things, whatever nice things are for you, right? Some people give two craps about a nice car, a nice house. They want to make enough money to travel. Maybe they want to retire by the time they're 45. Whatever your nice thing is, I'm an advocate of you achieving that, right? Achieving success. So I started showing a little bit more. Okay, I'll show you guys some success. I'll show you guys my Lambo. I'll start talking in the highs and lows of a business owner, because that was a thing. I tried to sugarcoat everything, make every transaction look easy and like it was a cakewalk. Oh, easy butter, easy butter. When I shifted my messaging and I got very real, I was like, yeah, it's fucking hard. Hey, this is the hard shit about managing people. This is some of the struggles I'm dealing with. This is the highs. This is the lows. It's a good day today. It's a bad day today. Hey, I worked my freaking ass off. I set a goal and I just bought myself a Lambo. I just bought this boat and it feels really good. But guess what? I got another goal to chase now, right? I started talking to other successful business owners online. $1 million home, $1 million home, $1 million home. My average sales price this year so far, I've already closed 31 transactions. My average sales price is $1.57 million. And everybody says, how do you work with luxury clients? I talk to luxury clients. I talk to small business owners. I don't give a fuck about the person on social media that's going to cry if I show my Lambo or something like that, because the successful business owner understands that. That's just a fact. That's just what it is. Successful people I know aren't out hating on other people either. So I had to come to terms with, I'm going to have a perception online and it's going to be very polarizing. It's either going to be, we love this guy or that arrogant motherfucker, right? But once I told myself, okay, you're going to draw this line and you're going to be comfortable just being you, right? Goofy, funny, motivated, results driven. You know what I mean? Like pushing the envelope as much as I can and every year growing bigger and having a big life. That's who I am. I'm not going to hide it. That's me. And that's my journey that I'm on. Yeah, I'm not going to talk. There's not going to be 100% people that are going to get behind it. But man, I'll tell you what, when I made that decision to get in alignment with who I am, I took his advice and man, I started building these amazing relationships. I started connecting with people. The right people started reaching out to me to sell their properties and things like that, because they understood me. I understood them. And that was game changing for me. And the rest is history. So.
Okay. So it just clicked with me though. So recently we've had a lot of people on the podcast talk about their Instagram pages, and it's been like, we'll have like a relocation specialist. And so their whole thing is targeting people who are relocating, or we have people who specialize in like home tours. So they're like targeting buyers specifically for this. But I feel like that kind of, and what we talked about earlier with lead generation versus brand building, that is like they're using social media as a way to lead generate specifically. And what it seems like you have evolved your page into is that brand piece where it's like who you are as a person, and you're not specifically targeting clients. You're more specifically targeting your type of people in the world in those relationships, and whether or not the second and third order effects turns into clients is okay with you.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Think about it this way. How often do people think about real estate? Take us out of the mix. We're real estate agents. We think about this shit from 5 a.m. to 9 o'clock at night, right? But the general consumer only thinks about real estate when they're thinking about buying or selling a home. Okay. So and that's once every 4 years, 5 years, some sooner, some longer, you know what I mean? But think about this. You got somebody that follows you. They're interested in some of your real estate content. They go on, they buy a property. Now your content is no longer really relevant to that person for another 4 years. They're probably going to lose engagement. I cater to, like, my social media. I talk to the entrepreneur. I talk to the guy that's struggling right now, right? Like trying to figure out how to get out of that 9 to 5, because that was me. I didn't want to work for people anymore. I got tired of it. I got tired of trading my time for a set salary or something like that. It didn't matter how many hours I worked. I got paid the same. You know what I mean? Like why? And so I'm living proof that you can make the transition from fucking homeless to growing up in a trailer to doing construction to doing an office job, learning sales, learning marketing, and then going into full sales and learning how to sell millions in real estate within, a 10 to 15 year period. I've done it, so I could talk to it, and I want to teach people that. So like, I like to be more of a motivational person, right? I like to show cool houses. I like to show cars. I'm a car guy. I'm always buying and selling cars and stuff now. I like to show that. And again, not everybody's into that, but if I can keep your attention because you like me as an individual and as a person, yeah, you bought a house from me, but then can I keep you motivated? Can I talk to you? Can we have a lot of fun? Can I relate to you over the next 2 or 3 years, right? So I personally, I see a lot of agents that do nothing but real estate, just post, sold, real estate, real estate, real. At the end of the day, like, it's boring as hell, man. I'll look at your page and I'm going to lose interest after like a week. There's no element of surprise. There's no like, oh shit, what's he going to post today? Like with me, you're going to get me lighting off fireworks in my office and shooting bottle rockets at some of my agents. We're going to have a war with each other one day. And then the next day it's like, oh shit, we're dealing some hard transactions. Next day, like, oh damn, Blake just bought a new friggin' 70 Chevelle LS6. What the hell? Like new house trade, just got one of my clients into a $6 million, like, every day I like to have fun with it. Like I like to just keep people guessing, keep them entertained, and then that way, when that time comes, they're always engaged with me. I've actively maintained relationships with people online and stuff. Like, gotta call Blake. He's the dude, like people will do business if they like you. Not enough people play the social media game to win people over to like them. They play the game very transactional. I'm going to make this post and I hope I get a transaction. I'm going to make this post and I hope I get a transaction. I hope I get a sale. Why don't you post and try to relate to people and have fun and get them to like you? And then the more they like you, the more you entertain them, the more you engage in relationships, that will turn into a lot of referrals, probably way more than you're getting just trying to post your typical real estate content every day.
And with that, do you ever have a specific like call to action, or are you purely just like sharing your life and then people are reaching out to you?
Yeah, I do a call to action. Like, one thing I like to have I love marketing. Like it's a lot of fun. Like I'll meet with my videographer at a property and I'm like, dude, I got this idea. I've got this vision. And as stupid as it sounds, there's kind of a lot that does go into these like 1-minute reels and stuff that we post on social media. And I'm like, I got this idea. Like, let's try this. And like, I love it more because even some of the houses I sell, these, multi-million-dollar properties, they're so cool. They have like a lot of cool features and stuff like that. Even like a normal house in a normal neighborhood, we make it look cool and fun. That's the thing. I try to make real estate look like fun. It's boring. We all know the drill. It's boring. You do a lot of transactions, but I have a lot of fun with my content creator and stuff like that. So we'll script things out. We'll have a lot of fun. I'll be like, hey, let's do some cool scene where we drive one of my cars up and, they're kind of watching it like a little cinema movie. It's like all these little dumb things that we just test and see what gets the most views, what gets the most likes. Like I had a guy the other day, it was funny. This agent's been an agent for 7 years and he made a post on social media. He's like, I think it's fucking dumb that agents post their cars and their videos and shit. And I'm like, okay. So I pulled this guy's numbers up and I looked at a couple of his reels and stats and stuff. And he's been an agent for 7 years posting. And his recent, he had a nice property and the recent video had like 110 views. I'm like, dude. And so I showed a recent property of mine that had like 21,000 views. And I'm like, the difference? Post my cars and they're like, I have fun with it. You know what I mean? Because it catches people's attention and stuff like that. It's just trying different creative things. So yeah, that's kind of, that's how I do things, I guess.
Anything specific that you've done to grow? Because right now, you have 21.5 thousand followers. So was there anything specific or is it just been consistency over time?
Consistency. So consistently posting every single day, 10 to 15 stories a day on average. If you're one of those agents that posts once every few days and does a story here and there, good luck. You're never going to make it. Sorry to tell you. Not from a social media standpoint. You're just going to get it's a numbers game, right? As with anything else, it's a numbers game. Who can be seen the most? And again, you have to understand the game you're playing. You have to take your personal opinion out of this because if your goal is, hey, my main lead generator is going to be social media, but I'm going to half-ass it, well, then don't cry when you have a half-ass business. Like if that's truly what you're going to do for a lead gen and you want to be a business owner at a high level, get your fucking ass in gear, right? Put some money into your marketing, do it at even if you don't have a big budget, you got this really cool little thing and it's got this camera and you're going to tell me 15 times a day you can't get this damn thing and put it in front of your face and share something inspirational or motivating or even hard, right? Like, hey, I'm not going to lie, guys. It's a hard ass day today. This is what I'm dealing with. Just wanted to be real with you guys. Not everything goes smooth. Everything's tough, like sometimes being authentic and because there's, we all know those people that make their lives look perfect and, sugarcoat everything. We're like, bullshit. You know what I mean? It's okay to be authentic, but if you're paying a phone bill, and I'm assuming if you're in real estate, you got one of these right here, you can make some videos every day. You don't need a high production budget. You don't need any of that stuff. Like, I've built my whole business on friggin' just being in my car, getting my phone out and just kind of ranting a little bit about the market and what's going on and stuff, So that's a big part of it though, is just consistency. Yeah, every day.
Yeah. And if you're listening out there and you're like, well, shit, like I don't have those stories to tell. Maybe it starts with like doing things, because it's
Yeah,
a
you
lot
do.
easier to share your story and have things to share throughout the day if you're like actually taking action and out there and like grabbing life, you know, big.
Like, here's the thing. If you're a brand new agent and you're like, I got no content, here's what you do. You go set a goal for yourself. I'm going to go see 100 houses in 100 days. Even if you don't have a friggin' client, go schedule 100 vacant showings, right? Do 2 a day. Give yourself a day off on the weekend so you're not crying about having to work 7 days a week like some people do. But go view 100 houses in 100 days. Make them vacant listings, make them new builds. I don't care. And when you go tour these listings, just get your phone out and film it, right? Like, hey, I'm checking out this property today. This is amazing. Great neighborhood, great area. Look at this. They did this cool little upgrade on this wall. It probably cost like $200 in this wainscoting wood, and it completely transformed this living room. If you're a homeowner, this is something you can do. Or, man, I checked out this property. I'm not going to lie. This thing's rough. Look at the carpet's friggin' stained. Backyard's dead. Like, they're asking a really high price, and realistically, so much content you could be doing, not to mention, think about how much your confidence will go up just by doing the reps of going and seeing 100 houses in 100 days. You'll be confident on the neighborhood, the area, the product on the market. You'll have 100 different videos you can make for social media as you're going through. Your followers can, let's say on house number 30, you post it's this banger, and somebody on your social media is like, oh my God, that house is amazing. Hey, can you shoot me more details? That conversation would have never happened if you didn't get out there and just post a video of the damn house to begin with, right? So like, I get these people, I don't know what to talk about. I'm like, dude, you guys have to understand, if these are the things that stop you in business, you're fucked. Like, you have to like have some tenacity and drive to like think outside the box. Like, if that's your biggest problem, I don't know what to say. You got bigger problems than like generating leads and shit, guys. Like, you got to get your confidence up and get out there, figure it out. There's so many free things you can do for content every day.
Dude, you pump me up.
I told you I'm
This
raw,
is fucking
sorry.
great. No, it's good. Okay. I know we've covered a lot and there's still so much out there, but is there anything specific that we did not hit on today that you think might be important for listeners?
No, here's the thing. If you're a brand new agent, one of the best things I can tell you guys, honestly, if I had to look back and say, hey, or a newer agent, or maybe you're even an agent that's been in this like a year, but kind of part-time, you had a job and you're ready to like finally make that transition. Proximity is like everything. Like, if I had to be, if you were to really say, Blake, what's like the one thing that brought you the biggest leaps in like knowledge? It wasn't like some YouTube video I figured out on my own. Don't get me wrong. Like, me doing the work every day was definitely like it. But the biggest accelerator to that was getting around people that are doing the thing, right? Like I told you guys, my first 2 years, I floundered. I mean, I figured it out, but I floundered. And then if I had to say, what was like the biggest breaking points? Like, I got so busy. My wife was like, hey, you need to start a team. Like, you need help. And I was like, no freaking way. I don't want to be responsible for anybody in this business. I'm just in it for myself and do my thing. And I started doing enough transactions. My wife's like, enough's enough. Like, I don't see you on the weekends. I don't see you at nights. Like, you are just constantly like in your car driving. So, I kind of got forced into hiring a buyer's agent, and that turned into 2 into 3. And for a long time, we had 4 team members. I had no team agreement. I was charging them like 5% splits because I didn't know my value. Like, knew nothing about being a team lead because I was the guy that was trying to save a buck by going to a flat fee brokerage who couldn't teach me how to run a team, right? And so I floundered my way through it. And I mean, we didn't know what the fuck we were doing. It was crazy. We figured it out. But man, like, I go, and then I run into a buddy of mine who ran a very successful team. He had like 60 agents. And I was like, dude, can you teach me? 2 days sitting with him transformed everything. Like, here's a TC. Here's what your TC does. Here's what your assistant does. Here's this, boom, boom, boom. Here's how your team agreement, split, structure, boom. And I was like, my mind was like, took that information, put it into play, hit 10 agents. And for the longest time, I kept my team cap. This was before I was a broker. It's just my team. I didn't want a mega team. I was like, I know that between 10 to 15 of us, we can do really good. My time won't be stretched. I can do my own production and volume. That one conversation happened in 2 days, completely like doubled my income that it took me to acquire in 2 years by just being stubborn and being like, I don't want to pay for proper coaching and stuff, right? Learned my lesson the second time when I went and got my broker's license. I learned my lesson. I was like, I'm not going to fumble through this. Like, I have a vision of what I want. I went and found a really good friend of mine who owns another kind of indie brokerage. He's a little bit bigger than me, but I loved what he was doing, but I wanted to put my own twist. I I went to him, hey, what can I pay you to teach me everything that you fucked up on that you don't want to make, that you wouldn't make the same mistake again? That's most important. And what can I do? Same thing, sat down with him for about 3 days. He gave me the blueprint. Here's who we use for this. Here's who we use for this. Watch out for this. You need to hire this. Boom, boom, boom. This is going to waste your money. This will make you money. This is a value. Immediately out the gate, my brokerage has been successful. I mean, we have been and again, agents come here and time after time, I've been able to produce successful agents. It's not going to ever be that one system that you use. It's not going to be that one CRM. Two things that will make your career will be your ability to have a solid work ethic, show up every day and do the work. Secondly, put yourself in proximity of people that are doing what you want to do. If you say solely, I want to sell luxury real estate, go align yourself with the realtor that's doing luxury real estate and he'll teach you. Like, you just being in his or her world every day and seeing how they talk to people, how they communicate, their systems, their processes, going in a car with them and attending some of the showings, you're going to learn more doing that than hanging out with your friends that are doing 3 transactions a year because you're pals and expecting to learn something from those people, right? Like, that's all I can tell you. Like, it's so critical these days. If I don't know something, if I don't know a skill, I'm like, man, I have to learn how to, for example, like a good friend of mine, he's amazing at creative financing, subject to deals and stuff like that. And I was like, I want to learn that, especially with interest rates being high. I sat down with this guy for 2-3 days. I paid him, and I now own 4 rental properties on subject to owner financing. And I've closed, I think already this year, 3 transactions, one being a multi-million-dollar deal on subject to creative financing, just by literally going to this guy and saying, hey, can I be in your world? Can you teach me? This is the number one thing I see agents do. Oh, I'm going to go hang over here and be friends. These are where my friends are at. I'm just going to hang out. Are you in this business to be pals with people? Or are you in this business to make fucking money and grow your business? Once you make that decision, you'll be able to make better choices on who you're surrounding yourself with and the people that are getting after it.
It's so good. Okay, some agents are sitting there. They're on the edge of their seats. They're like, I need more Blake. I want this. So do you offer coaching where, tell us a little bit about your brokerage? Where can people reach out to you for more information?
Yeah, we do coaching. We're very hands-on. So this is just me. So for those of you guys that are at these online brokers, please don't take offense to this. It's just my personal learning style. I believe in a lot of in-person learning. I don't believe in, it's a people business, right? You got to get face-to-face with people. You got to learn how to interact with people and socialize and things like that. And I think that our society, especially after 2020, moved to such a virtual thing that I think we've lost the art of relationships with people. We've lost the art of communication. We've lost the art of just walking up and giving somebody a firm handshake and looking them in the eye, So for me, my personal style is I love to do everything in person. I've got an office. I work out of here every day from 7:30 a.m. to 3 or 4 in the afternoon. Treat it like a job. Put in my 8 hours every day. Not to say I don't work at home and on weekends here and there. We do most of our trainings in person. All of that kind of stuff. With that being said, we do virtual. I do run a private coaching business on the side. People can, I do a Zoom call every Saturday morning. We talk about all things real estate, small business ownership, stuff like that for an hour call. If people are interested, they can DM me for that. But as far as my brokerage goes, we're in Arizona. We're in the East Valley, Queen Creek. We handle pretty much all East Valley. We do all over the state though. I've got agents in Yuma, Pine Top, Show Low, Tucson. Majority of our agents are East Valley, Phoenix area though. So.
Okay. And with that DM, guys, you can go on Instagram to Blake_sells_AZ. So Arizona. Is there anywhere else, Blake, you want them to reach out? Or is that good?
Facebook. I'm one of those old guys that still uses Facebook, even though people say it's dead. I still love it. I still get business on it. Just Blake B. Clark on there. No.
Okay, perfect. And guys, you know the drill. If you want to hang out with me or the owner of the show, we are The Shelby Show and Aaron Amuchastegui on the gram. Hit us with feedback. I know you loved this episode because I am on fire right now. I'm pumped up. So let me know if you want more content similar to Blake, all of his friends. We get all his friends on here. And otherwise, guys, that is all we have for today. Blake, thank you so much for coming on the show. And Real Estate Rockstars, thanks for listening.